Good evening, everyone. This is Congressman Nick Langworthy, and I want to thank you for taking time out of your evening to join me tonight. I want to welcome you to this month's Telephone Town Hall meeting. As always, we do this every single month. If you've been on before, you know the drill. This is my opportunity to update you directly on what's happening in Washington and what I'm working on, but more importantly, to answer your questions. And we do this each and every month. I've done it each and every month that I have been in Congress, and it is a great honor to do it. If this is your first time joining us for one of the telephone town hall meetings, I want to say thank you. We have an opportunity to ask questions. If you would like to ask a question tonight, press *3 on your phone at any time, and we'll get you in the queue. We'll get to as many phone calls as we can tonight. Again, press *3 at any time during the call, and you'll get into the queue to ask a question. The last time we spoke, we were a full month into the government shutdown. It turned out to be the longest government shutdown in American history. And I'm very relieved to say that after 43 days of unnecessary pain on the American people, the federal government is reopened. And the shutdown was everything that I complain about with shutdowns. Nothing got accomplished. The only one that was cheated was the taxpayers. It should never happen again. The American people should never be used as hostages to gain political leverage, no matter who is in power at any given time. And we need to take steps to prevent this from happening again. I mean, real people were hurt by this in the political games that were played, especially by the Senate minority. Families went without paychecks and food assistance. Farms and small businesses were stuck in limbo without access to the critical programs that they need to do business. It's estimated that this shutdown cost the economy at least $7 billion, possibly as high as $15 billion, because we have an awful lot of employees in the federal government, and there was virtually zero productivity as those offices were furloughed. I've always been opposed to shutdowns. I've said it all the time, whether Joe Biden was in the White House or Donald Trump. It's just not the right thing to do. And after 43 days, repeated votes to open the government, a lot of people have been exposed for their hypocrisy and, honestly, their dishonesty. Thankfully, there were 8 Senate members from the minority party who finally chose to break ranks with Senator Schumer. They put their country over their party, and they joined with a majority to reopen the government. And I've always tried to be a straight shooter and call balls and strikes as I see them, and I want to give credit to U.S. Senator John Fetterman. He's a Democrat. He's from Pennsylvania. He's quite liberal in his policies. We don't really agree on a whole lot of probably votes that go through the Congress, but he was courageous enough to call this out for what it was, and it was a brazen political stunt. He said, you can be for both things. You can be for the health care priorities of the Democratic Party, and you can also be for making sure that the government's there to serve the taxpayers, which is the absolute most important thing. And I think he deserves praise for speaking the truth. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of that in Washington, D.C. So I just want to give credit where credit is due. A reminder, if you're just joining us, and we've got a real great crowd here tonight on this call, if you want to ask a question, press *3 on your phone, and you'll get in the queue to ask the question. One of the worst parts of the shutdown is not only the impact it had while we were closed, it was just a massive distraction. All the work that was being done on the budget, all the negotiations that were bipartisan, by the way, within the Appropriations Committee and that process, and our economic agenda, it all came to a screeching halt. There wasn't a single hearing. We lost progress. We lost momentum on important issues like growing our economy and bringing down prices, making things more affordable for Americans. But thankfully, we're up and running again, and we need to work overtime to deliver the results the American people deserve. And I'm so pleased that one of those priorities is My Energy Choice Act, and you've probably heard me talk about this a little bit. It actually just was passed out of the Energy Subcommittee of my House Energy and Commerce Committee this last week. This is my A1 priority in terms of my own legislation, because it's something I've been working very hard on. But if you're not familiar with it, it's a bill that would essentially work to block Governor Hochul's natural gas ban. It prohibits states or local governments from banning certain types of energy, and it thereby protects your access to affordable and reliable natural gas, propane, fuel oil, however you choose to heat your home. Because as we know in this part of the state, in the country, natural gas is a lifeline. And with recent utility rate hikes that Governor Hochul has once again greenlit through the utilities, New Yorkers are facing crushing home energy costs. Everywhere I go, people are talking about this issue and the impact it's having on your household budget, on your life, on businesses. And that's why I've made this a top priority. Governor Hochul is seeing the political fallout from this as well. And so what she's done is a little political theater of her own. She's using a court case as cover to buy time on this law taking effect until after Election Day of 2026. So she's put it on pause. But make no mistake, she will implement her law, and the New York State Legislature is very intent on moving that law forward. And that law would prohibit any new building, 7 stories and under, from being constructed with a natural gas or propane hookup, which I think you don't have to be a geologist to figure out what a problem that is. I'm more determined than ever to make the Energy Choice Act law before she gets the chance to reinstitute that ban on natural gas and propane. We've cleared this first hurdle. And next week, after Thanksgiving, it will be taken up by the entire Energy and Commerce Committee, and I'm optimistic that it will pass out of that committee and then move on to the full House so we can get it across the floor for a vote. It has bipartisan support. We've even got several Democrats that have co-sponsored the bill, one from California, one from Texas, but we now have 133 co-sponsors, from Democrats to constitutional conservatives. I'm very proud of that we've united people from throughout the country on this. We've also, on a grassroots level, had 200 local governments across New York State pass resolutions in support of this bill and send that support on to Senator Schumer, Senator Gillibrand, and the governor herself. There is tremendous momentum for the Energy Choice Act because people understand what's on the line, and we have to get this done and on the president's desk for his signature. Protecting our energy supply, protecting your energy choice, and lowering energy costs are central to our efforts to reignite the economy and put more money back in your pocket, make your life a little more affordable. And that's what I'm trying to fight for every day in Washington. I appreciate your feedback and the support we've received across the district for these efforts. And I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about this tonight. But now we're going to invite you one more time to press *3 on your phone if you want to ask a question. And we're going to get right into the questions right now. We're going to start with Timothy. Hi, Timothy.
Hello?
Hi, how are you, sir? Where are you calling from tonight?
I'm calling from Hamburg, New York.
Okay, well, thanks for being with us. What's on your mind?
This is part of, I guess you might call it the energy discussion, but it's kind of on another portion of it. There's a New York State body called the Office of Renewable Energy Siting, ORES. Come to find out that they're being used as a technical runaround. They're touting like these large fields of solar panels as something fantastic for the area, with the exception of these companies are mostly foreign, and they're getting around environmental protections in upstate New York by using ORES, and they're being allowed to put solar facilities on protected wetlands, protected grasslands, and on right to farm areas. So, and if you want to get in touch with me, I can let you know how, but
well, I'm glad that you bring this up because I believe that the state has abused energy probably more than anything, and they've done everything in the name of renewables, whether it be windmills or solar panels, and they've greenlit all of those kind of projects, yet they have gone out of their way to stonewall anything relating to natural gas, propane, those traditional efforts that really do fuel our electrical grid. I also think they prey on impoverished rural areas. I am personally
Absolutely.
not. I am personally not a proponent of wholesale solar or wind. I believe in local control. If your local governance, meaning the town or city, they want a bunch of windmills, they have to stand in front of the voters and publicly acknowledge that is my personal philosophy. New York State has thrown that philosophy out the window and said our way or the highway. They have this office, which I actually been following very closely. So a young lady that I knew from her service in the New York State Assembly has a home in Elise Stefanik's district, and she's fighting these solar farms in her area. She's reached out to ORES, as you put it out a half a dozen times. There's no office. There's no one that answers the phone. There's no collaboration whatsoever. So I do think this is just a front and a website to cover for the fact that they have just greenlit everything. But make no mistake, they're preying on impoverished farmers, people that are desperate, our rural communities, in trying to. These are not economic development engines in any way, shape, or form. There's a few jobs created to install it. Most of them are out of town jobs. People that come in, do the job, they leave, and they take their money with them. This is not something that there's probably a cash grab by the landowner, and I don't begrudge anyone for saying that it's tough to stay in ag. I mean, I get it. There might not be succession planning in a farm. Farming has gotten really hard. We've seen that over generations here in Western New York and the Southern Tier. But New York State has put rocket boosters on the proliferation of the solar and wind projects to the point where they're really becoming intrusive. So I'm in full agreement with you. I think that there needs to be far more scrutiny. There should be local tough zoning, and because imagine building your dream home and then 2 years later, 2 doors down, there's an industrial solar farm that springs up. That is a real threat here in our community.
Well, also the amount of dishonesty involved too, because
extreme.
Some of the environmental surveys that have come out, they're just blacked out. There's like 2 lines, and then the rest of it is just blacked out. The information,
I'm in full agreement with you. And we'll if there's a specific that you want us to discuss, maybe we could take your number down and we can call you tomorrow if there's something specific in your community. But I really couldn't agree more with everything you said.
So what can we do?
Well, this is a governmental call, so I can't talk about campaigns on this call.
Okay.
But I think you can read between the lines on what I'm saying.
Okay. All right.
So, so that's probably about the best way I can put that. The policies that have been put forward by Governor Hochul and the people that run New York State have taken us down this road. Energy choice,
environmentalism,
and energy freedom is something I believe strongly in, will be always working towards, and that's what my Energy Choice Act's all about, because they want to ban you from being able to use natural gas in your home. And folks, they're not going to stop with new construction. If you think they're going to stop with new construction, I got a bridge to sell you. This is going to go back to retrofit. It will be one step at a time, incrementalism, until they have solidified their Green New Deal agenda, and that's just the truth.
And make no mistake, the governor will be able to still use her gas stove when you can't.
I mean, pathetically, yesterday I saw she put a picture on social media standing in front of an electric oven in a home that clearly wasn't hers, claiming that it's her hobby to bake pumpkin bread. I mean, this is, but it obviously was not the governor's mansion. We'll put it that way. But thanks for being with us, Timothy. We're going to go on next to Hulda. Hi, Hulda.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, where are you calling from tonight, Hulda?
Cherokee, New York.
Oh, I know that place very well.
And
What's on your mind tonight?
Well, my two main concerns is I always thought President Trump cared about the senior citizen, but when he started playing with the food stamps and the HEAP program, what are his intentions on that?
Well, those monies are flowing. It does, when the government shuts down, it takes time to move everything back around. You go from 0 to 60, and it doesn't happen in a day. But again, we had people playing political games for 43 days. That money wasn't appropriated until we reopened the government, and now the money is going to the states. SNAP and these programs have been funded now for the whole calendar year. Some of the government is still going to come back up for discussion in January, but particularly the nutrition benefits are all set through next September 30th because we had 3 different appropriations bills on there. The president wasn't playing games. I mean, the food stamp program was out of money. There was a emergency fund that would not even have covered 1 month of the program that was there in case of hurricanes, pandemic, tragedy, you name it, and they, ultimately, they let that money go, but it zeroed that out as well, so that has to be replenished, and but it wouldn't even have covered the full month's obligations. I mean, the people that put us in this shutdown, they did this. They're the ones that made the government not effective. But they of course accused and said it was the president that did it. But I watched a member of Congress from Western New York stand at a food bank and decry the fact that SNAP was out of money and how terrible that was. Yet he voted to shut the government down. Then within the same press conference say that he would continue to make sure the government stayed shut down when a yes vote was what was necessary to reopen the government, make the pain go away, and help people. I mean, it's the epitome of hypocrisy. That's why I don't believe in shutdowns, because they're out there trying to prove a point and having all the theatrics and all the drama. But ultimately, what I know the people on this call care about is that if they need the government for whatever affects their life, they want someone to answer the phone. We pay too much in taxes for the government to not be there for people when they need it. And when the government's not funded, there's no funds to distribute. Right. So that's why these shutdowns are terrible. So the president was not playing games, and Governor Hochul, like the morning after the shutdown, literally saying the president's withholding HEAP. No, it takes a few days to start moving these accounts and to get the monies distributed to the states, because the way it works, federal money goes to the state, then the state does it. New York State could have fronted HEAP any day they wanted to. They run a $254 billion budget. They could have fronted HEAP. They could have taken those applications. They knew damn well that money was going to get turned on at some point. They also, the governor was cheering this shutdown on and wanting to make it look like President Trump is the reason you can't get HEAP, and it just wasn't true. So, the HEAP program now funded, should be moving. The HEAP office, those are New York State employees funded by federal dollars. So hopefully, if you have any problems with it, you call us, though.
And what is your number I can reach you at?
What's the best number? 716?
Yeah.
547? 6844.
And do we have one more time for one more question?
Sure.
What about the Social Security, the seniors who are on Social Security? Me and my husband, they give us $1,300 to live on in a month, and that's all we get from our Social Security. Are they going to have any increases or no?
There will be another COLA this year. There will be another COLA this year. There's a COLA, each and every year. Some years it's higher than others,
right.
But the COLA will kick in for the year ahead. So that it doesn't go up as fast as the inflation we had over the last 5 years. That's the problem. Is the value of a dollar unfortunately shrunk because the government printed too much money after COVID, and prices went up. I mean, Social Security is going to go up 2.8% for 2026, and it's a formula. It's not voted on by Congress. It's an automatic formula based on the cost index. So you'll get a few more bucks going there, but it does not keep up. And I certainly understand that. That's why we want to fight to get prices down. That's why I fight as hard as I do on energy, because energy makes everything go up. When a business has high electric bills, that it makes it more expensive for them to do business, and their products go up in price. I mean, energy has an explosive effect on the prices that people pay. I mean, everything gets transported over the road, so we want our fuel to be as cheap as it can be. We want our utility bills to be as cheap as they can be.
And I guess another thing I'd like to address, since I'm on here with you, is have you ever checked into like the grant programs they have that you can apply for? Do you know how hard that is, and how a person, they say they have all these grants out there, but it's so impossible to apply for one and get one. How do you ever do that?
Well, Hulda some of those might be state grants. I'm not as familiar with federal grants for individual people, but we will give you a phone call and see if we can kind of walk through that with you from having one of our staffers work with you on that to see if there's anything. But I think that's probably county or state if I had to guess. But we'll check into it for you and be happy to try to help you. Have a great night, Hulda.
You too.
Next, we're going to talk to Randy.
Hi, Congressman. Thanks for having this conference call. This is the first time I've been on, so thank you very much.
Well, great. Where are you calling from tonight, Randy?
My wife and I, we live in Bath in Steuben County.
Wonderful. Great to have you with us.
Hey, thanks. So my question is, we were notified by our health insurance company, which we pay for out of pocket because my wife and I, we work for different employers with less than 50 employees. And we had Obamacare jammed down our throats many years ago. And we can't really get out of it.
You've been on the Obamacare exchange since it pretty much started?
Yes.
Okay.
And so we're going to be entering the working poor class because our rates are going to go up to about $25,000 per year, because it's not just myself and my wife, but because of the law, we're forced to pay for our daughter's health insurance until she's 26, and she is currently 21. So this is basically going to nullify my wife's income with the health insurance increase.
You're forced to hold your daughter on there, or obviously some people find it is very helpful, but you're forced to?
Pretty much is what we were told, is whatever that law
even
that
if she
came
has
out
employer-based coverage?
She is a student.
A student, okay.
She's doing her master's over at SUNY Albany for library science.
Gotcha.
So not only do we have the health insurance going up, but we're also paying her student loan. She went to Keuka College, so that was our gift to her.
That's pricey, yeah.
So, and we live within our means. We're pretty frugal with our spending, but this increase in the quote-unquote Affordable Care Act is not.
It's the Unaffordable Care Act is what it really is. And that's,
so we pay for Fidelis insurance out of pocket. And it's kind of funny, some people get Fidelis for free, so you can be at your doctor's office and, someone has Fidelis that, isn't working or whatever, and they get everything for free. Those of us that work, we pay out of pocket and then some. And and some businesses don't accept Fidelis, but it was $5,000 cheaper than taking Excelis.
Sure.
So we're kind of stuck, and I just like to know, although my job situation may change within the next 6 months. I'm hoping to work for the state, and then I can get on decent insurance. But at 53 years old, and my wife is 55, we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, I'm sorry you're going through this. I mean, in what you pointed out is at the outset, this is not affordable. I mean, Obamacare was supposed to, what was the promise? It was everyone's going to have access. It's going to drive down the cost for everyone. Things are going to go down. It's going to be easy. If you like what you have, you can keep what you have. It was going to be all things, all people. And what have we seen? What have we seen all these years later? I mean, now we're at the cliff on Obamacare, where there's hellish amounts of money going into the subsidies. There's obviously this COVID era cliff, this COVID era 5-year enhanced premium tax credit that is expiring, and people had something for 5 years, and they think that's just that is going to be forever. This was designed as a COVID relief program, and that's the biggest problem we have here is that costs have actually exploded on the premiums, and all the money of all this government money goes directly to the insurance companies. The only thing that has exploded, other than your premium costs, are the profits of the insurance companies during COVID. Because
Correct.
there's no controls on how high these premiums go. Some people have zero financial commitment to it. Some people that are on the bubble of it, like you're on, are paying through the nose for insurance they don't probably like all that much. And we have to have a discussion about the future of all of it, as to how to, again, rein in the costs, rein in the profits of these insurance companies, because they've been allowed to run amok. I mean, they frankly have no controls, and us shoveling more government money at them is not going to make them behave better. It's going to actually take it the wrong direction. We're hearing more and more from people, whether you're on private insurance or you're an employer that's providing insurance for their employees, how out of control the premiums are getting. And, we want to see as many people covered as possible, but you can't have this world where a whole bunch of people pay nothing and then everybody else gets socked hard, because there's no equity in that whatsoever. I think the president, he kind of held back the announcement because there was a lot of Republican disagreement, but he said he's going to start with a proposal that he'll roll out probably next week to try to get a way out of some of this. I mean, because we're right in for another brinksmanship for the January 30th deadline on the enhanced premium tax credits and everything that goes along with that. Now, I checked in early on this enhanced premium tax credits, and I pulled the numbers for our district. There's only 0.7% of our constituents that actually get the enhanced premium tax credits. This wasn't a prolific, situation for our community as the other side was really trying to portray it to be. But I'm hearing from more and more people in your shoes where just the annual premium, having nothing to do with the enhanced premium tax credit, is just unaffordable at this point. And it's, you need to have insurance. Obamacare is your only option, but there's got to be some price controls in here. We've got to put everything on the table, from health savings accounts, and take the power out of the hands of the insurance companies here, and probably put some really hard guardrails around them, because they're providing massive profits to their shareholders and poorer care every single year to people. I mean, the things I'm hearing from people on pre-authorizations, on how long it's taking to get their procedures authorized, it's unacceptable. So we've got a long way to go. We have to dig in on this. We are going to have bipartisan compromise. I mean,
Well,
some of
well,
my colleagues.
let me give you an
Okay.
example. Sorry to interrupt you, but something
Yeah,
you
that's
can
all right.
dig into is I'm not going to tell you where this was. It really doesn't matter. But a good friend of mine asked me. He said, "Hey, I need a big favor. Can you bring me to the hospital?" And he's having heart troubles. Okay. So I said, "Of course I will." I brought him to this certain hospital, and this hospital is very friendly with the local fire department. And the hospital was encouraging a transfer, okay? So these paid-for fire departments are, I don't want to say they have quotas, but they are encouraged by the mayor of the city to get as many transfers from the hospital over to Rochester. So that's how the city makes their money, is on transfers. And then who pays for that? The health insurance companies, and then the patient gets stuck with a $6,000 transfer fee. So I said, "Hey, ask your doctor if you're well enough for me to bring you up to Strong." And it was like, I don't want to say it was a battle, but they said 4 times, "Oh, you really should take a transfer," which means
because they get a big
take you by.
reimbursement on that ambulance ride.
Exactly.
And there's too many games being played.
It's games that are being played by local government and good old boys organizations out here in Steuben County.
Well, there's an awful lot of that going on. And, I take a ton of meetings on healthcare because I'm on the Energy and Commerce Committee and it's our jurisdiction. And every time whoever the stakeholder is leaves the room, I turn to my staffer and I say, "So who's the villain of the story as to why the prices are out of control?" The hospital points to the insurance company. The insurance company points to the pharmaceutical industry. The pharmaceutical industry points to the insurance company, and on and on and on. And it's just, but they're all growing profits. It's the people that really aren't being served well. And
No.
Obamacare has set the table for them to have this power and control. And that's what we have got to make fixes. You're not going to repeal it. We've got to make fixes to the system within it. And it starts with people sitting around the table like an adult and working together to help the taxpayers. So I appreciate you calling and sharing your story with me tonight. I really do.
Yeah, thank you.
It's very, very helpful to me. And thanks for being on the call tonight. Now we're going to talk to Robin. Hi, Robin.
Hi, how
Hi, where are you? Good. What town are you calling from tonight?
I am right on the line of Orchard Park and North Boston.
Okay, well, hopefully the lake effect snow doesn't get too deep this Thanksgiving.
It's gonna. We always get it. It is what it is, right. And it's no surprise. We're used to it.
It's kind of part of the deal when you live there.
Correct.
What's on your mind tonight?
Okay, so this whole Governor Hochul. I mean, between you, me, and everybody that's listening in the wall,
it's only 7,000 of your closest friends. Don't be shy.
Right. I would love to basically wring her neck. I just today got a check for $400, and I have yet to put it in my checking account because first of all, what are we going to be paying, for that $400? I mean, I seriously live in the middle of the woods by Chestnut Ridge Park, and I'm telling you, first it was talked about you can't burn wood. They're going to put a stop to burning wood. Well, you know what? I used to heat my house with wood. I still do.
That's what we've heard. Growing up, that's what we heated our home with, was wood.
100%. I mean, it was only 3 years ago did I get a furnace in my house because my husband had 3 brain surgeries and issues because he fell off a building back in '88. And I learned about this program that they had that they would come in and put a furnace in your house. And they did that. I pay $46 a month. I have no idea for how long I'm going to be paying it, but it's a nice backup. And then once we heard about these electric meters that like you can opt out, but you still got to pay extra to opt out. And I have gas. I burn wood. I actually have a coal stove as well down in the basement so that keeps the floors and rises and keeps the house warm. But is there, like, I don't know, is there anything we can do as little peons to her to not do this? I mean, my electric bill has gone up with the smart meter.
Well, it's not the meter. It's the fact that at the same time as you got the meter, she had the Public Service Commission, it's her Public Service Commission, increase rates double digits.
Correct.
And it's the rate of the utility. I mean, we've dug into this with a lot of constituents because the timing is very similar to when the meter gets installed, so they think it's the meter. It's actually the fact that there's been rate increases by her Public Service Commission on all the utilities, and there's more to come. Because now electricity is becoming scarce. You remember they used to have a coal-fired electricity plant in Dunkirk, in Tonawanda, and in Barker.
Yep.
And what's in those three places now? Nothing. I mean, just empty buildings. And they didn't repower them with gas because they've declared war on natural gas. They've taken electricity off of the grid, so now it's more scarce. They've shuttered a nuclear plant in the Hudson Valley. They've taken more power off the grid than they've added with any of these windmills or solar panels, and at the same time, they now want electric school buses, electric public transportation. They want you to drive an electric car, and they want to fully electrify your home. I mean, this is why I'm so dedicated to the Energy Choice Act, because the Energy Choice Act addresses your concerns that they're going to try to take away your gas, take away wood, take away coal, take away everything else. And they have for new construction. They'll come for the rest later. And
correct. You're
reality,
absolutely right.
The reality is it's going to drive up the cost because they say, it's just so much more efficient. Well, if you're building a new home, it's probably at least $25,000 more to build a house. But what they're not talking about is the fact that your electric bill every month to heat the home will cost you $1,000.
No kidding.
And no one's going to be able to afford it. I mean, tell me what senior on a fixed income or disabled vet has got that kind of money sitting around to pay an electric bill. I mean, it's asinine.
No doubt. My mom is 88 years old, and thank God that she's still here, and she came out today, and she's going to spend Thanksgiving with us, and then some time after. But I worry about her as well. I mean, but this whole...
Sure. Our seniors and so many people in our district rely on HEAP. It's a program I'm very dedicated to, making sure we have full and adequate funding for it. And what are we going to do? It's just, it's kind of like her insulting, inflation rebate check. Well, how about you just lower taxes?
Right.
If you have that much money in Albany, just stop taxing people so high.
Well, you're going to give me $400, okay, that I got today. And seriously, I look at this check and it's like, okay, Kathy, what do I have to pay back when I cash this check?
Absolutely. You're right, Rob.
I mean, no offense to anyone, but I love wood heat. Okay, we had a wood-burning stove down in the basement. My floors were always warm. Last year, we got a coal stove, and I sold my big wood burner from downstairs. We still have a wood burner upstairs, but it's, now we're trying to get the ins and outs of the coal stove because I come home from work, I kick my shoes off, I take my socks off. I don't want anything on my feet. And it was lovely for, we bought our house here in 84, okay? And, September 5th, 85, my husband just corrected me. But we had no basement, so we raised the house.
Sure.
They put in a treated lumber basement, and I'm telling you, that baby, my floors, I never had to worry about it. People would come over to watch the Bills games, and they would literally be like, "Do you have a T-shirt I can put on instead of having a sweatshirt on?" Because it is so warm.
Robin, I hear you loud and clear. I'm going to try to get through as many calls as we can here tonight in the time that we got. But I'm with you 100%. With all of this, we have to keep all of our energy options on the table, and it's a way of life for us here in Western New York in the Southern Tier. We have a poll question tonight. Do you support My Energy Choice Act? If you believe in my legislation that would ban Kathy Hochul's electrification mandate, press 1. If you're opposed to that effort and you want to see the electrification mandate go online, press 2. Again, 1 if you support our Energy Choice Act, 2 if you're opposed. If you're unsure, you could press 3. All right, now we're going to go to William. Hi, William.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. Where are you calling from tonight?
Orchard Park, New York.
Okay, go Bills.
Yeah. What a nightmare the new stadium's created with traffic. But my questions really are, one is that with the taxes that New York State has got going on individuals, how do they expect people to survive? And along with that, the number of people that New York State has allowed to drive illegally on federal highways.
They sure have with their driver's license, their green light law, their driver's licenses for illegal aliens. And it's something I have spoken out pretty hard against. And to add insult to injury, that same law prohibited any law enforcement officer in New York State from sharing any of the data in the New York State DMV database with federal law enforcement officials. So Border Patrol, ICE, none of them are allowed to even run a tag of a car with a New York plate because it could show that they're non-citizens. It is a classic example of Albany putting their political whims, and they passed this in the first Trump administration because they wanted to protest, and this was Cuomo's time. They wanted to protest against Trump's efforts on the wall and immigration and trying to clean up the illegal immigration crisis that we had brewing in this country. Never then did we know how bad it would get, but it is just a matter of priorities. And your governor's priorities are putting illegals ahead of citizens here in New York. And that's just the cold, hard facts, and people need to keep that in their minds this whole year. Is I guess the most delicate way I can put this government phone call.
No, and I understand that. But the other question I have, and then there's many, but one I really want to get to, I think, is when a fire department applies for a federal grant for apparatus, why is it the state of New York is allowed to take money off of the top?
That's news to me. The FEMA grants that we put forward, the assistance to firefighters, I believe that goes directly to the fire departments. This is one of the very few areas where New York State doesn't have a big role. It's a direct application to FEMA.
It did go to New York State. There
might be some different pots. Maybe this is maybe subsets within FEMA's assistance. Where is this more on trucks? Because we help a lot of fire departments, gain air packs, radio equipment, and things like that, and they get their funding directly from the federal government. So, if you wanted to, call us back and, with a direct fire department in question, we would be happy to dig into that a little further.
I'll have to try and look up in my records because I do recall that fire departments applied for apparatus. They got the grant, and then all of a sudden it was short because New York State attached a fee to it.
Okay. Well, we'll reach out to you on that as well and try to get some specifics and see what the story is there. But most of what we have worked directly with fire departments on, the state luckily hasn't been in the middle of it. That's one of the frustrations I have as a federal official is, we're stuck in this end of the state that is not a priority to the governor. And a lot of our federal pots of money go directly to the state, and they get to prioritize where the spending takes place. So you could imagine in districts like mine, where the biggest community I represent is Hamburg, the governor doesn't get a lot of political support in my district, so she doesn't have a lot of incentive to spend money in my district compared to the big urban settings across the state. And that's a source of frustration because they get far more than their fair share of federal investment that flows through New York's books. So that's something that I'm looking to limit. But thank you for being with me, William. I really appreciate it. Next, we're going to go to Melanie. Hi, Melanie.
Hello, Congressman. Thank you for taking my call and question. I'm quite amazed that I got on here. I'm calling from the hamlet of Kilbuck in Great Valley, New York.
All right. Well, it's great to have you on the line tonight. What's on your mind?
Thank you for putting me on here. I'm amazed because I'm a proud registered Democrat.
God bless you. I'm not allowed to screen the callers based on DNR or blank. I mean, no matter, we can't use party filters on this kind of call. So
I wish you would do these in person.
Okay. Well, there's
any plans for that?
I actually have done it this way my entire time in office, and I have found this to be a very successful way to communicate with a mass amount of constituents in a district this spread out. There's no way that I'd be able to get to the 7,000 people that are on the line tonight in having small in-person town hall meetings. We're in session an awful lot of the calendar year, and our district goes for 9 counties and is 3.5 hours end to end. So this is a far more effective way for us to communicate. No one gets to stand up and showboat and carry on, and we never have to have the cops on these calls. So, but what's on your mind?
My question was on the affordability crisis. As you know, this area is what you were speaking of before, impoverished, rural, and President Trump has said that we don't have an affordability crisis. Do you agree?
No, we've had an affordability crisis in this country long before President Trump came back into the White House, and it's not solved. The value of our dollar got deflated during COVID. The government printed $7 trillion in money that it borrowed, and the purchasing power of every American was depleted. And no, we have an affordability crisis in this country, and it doesn't get fixed in 9-10 months of a new administration. It doesn't, something that you dug this big a hole in that short of amount of time is not going to get fixed in short order.
But prices have increased drastically under President Trump.
They actually have not. Prices and inflation has cooled, and pretty much every metric will show you that. But inflation is still the inflation that's taken. Well, then you're going to tell me what you thought of the inflation under the last president. The prices have not exploded in the last 9 months.
That was caused by COVID, which didn't get wrangled in right away like it should have.
COVID, then the whole world got it wrong. COVID, we spent money that we had no business spending. We printed money and threw money at topics and conversations that had nothing to do with pandemic, all in the name of an emergency. And in both administrations that handled COVID made mistakes. But the Inflation Reduction Act and all of that explosive spending certainly dug this hole.
Didn't President Trump send out $2,000 checks to everybody?
Did I not say that both administrations got it wrong?
And what are you going to do about the
inflation
tariff
reduction
problem?
What problem specifically about
the tariffs have driven up costs for everybody for just about everything.
What specifically has a tariff driven up the cost of in your daily life?
Lumber.
You buy a lot of lumber?
I'm involved in a business that people are buying a lot of lumber, yes.
Okay. I have advocated that we should have a better bilateral, not trilateral, tariff agreement with Canada. Canada doesn't seem to want to get a deal done. That's the biggest problem, and that's where a lot of our lumber is imported from. We have enough timber in the United States of America to take care of all of our needs and then some. We need permitting reform to move that forward quicker, and that's something that we're focused on. We should be buying American timber whenever possible. I mean, but our relationship with Canada is very strained. We do need a bilateral Canadian trade deal. Period.
And I appreciate that.
But the countries around the world have taken advantage of the United States. Canada sends 68% of all of their goods to the United States of America. Do you think any of our dairy farmers can send their products into Canada?
I don't have all
There's a 268% tariff against American dairy going into Canada. That affects farmers right here in our district, and the relationship is generally a one-sided relationship. We need a fair deal. I'm all for free trade if it's fair. 85% of all products of Canada right now are covered under USMCA, which is the existing trade deal. So the tariffs are only applying to things that aren't covered explicitly in that deal. So I do think the president should be able to craft new deals. He's gotten a blockbuster deal done with Japan, with the European Union. India is just around the corner from what I'm hearing, that we're going to have a large deal there. I mean, we've had massive investment in the United States. I don't want to just see random willy-nilly tariffs, but at the end of the day, it's forced countries to the table to get new trade deals that benefit the United States of America more than the old ones did. So, there obviously has to come to an end point on some of these that are just punitive just for the sake of being punitive. But where we're being taken advantage of, taking tariffs off the table, should not be something that we're looking to do. Now, the Supreme Court obviously going to make a determination on tariffs and the emergency powers that all presidents have had for a long time. But the message has gotten around the globe that you have to come to the United States and get a new deal. And that is good for American workers. I hear it from our big labor unions. They think this is driving more manufacturing into the future. In the United States, companies are now building plants in the U.S. that they weren't before. That is not a bad thing. It's something that will create more American workers, more American products. I mean, the problem that we had during COVID that was so embarrassing is you couldn't buy anything, and we were choked out on the supply chain because we don't make things here anymore. In no area has been choked out by rotten trade deals more than Western New York and the Southern Tier. We're like the capital of where NAFTA screwed the people. I mean, the places I grew up in the families that were fed by good companies that made things in Chautauqua County and Cattaraugus County, and now they don't, and they're shuttered. And those jobs went to Mexico because NAFTA did nothing but screw people over, and it was a race to the bottom on price, and it took American workers off the table. And I get passionate about this because I just know what it's done to so many families in our area as they've lost those opportunities, and it's forced people to leave states like New York that are high tax, high regulation, and it's cheaper to do business in other parts of this country, let alone foreign countries. But we need to make things here in New York State again. We need to make things in America, and we need to have pride in buying American products.
You speak of making deals. What will you do to try to spur more bipartisanship to make deals? Because it seems like Republicans who want to speak out and have ideas get primaried or threatened. And speaking of threats, the threats against the Democrats this week was not very tasteful. But
I've had plenty of threats on my head in this year too. So
people that want to speak out get threatened. So what do you do?
Sure. I think that the healthcare the decision and discussion that's in front of us is probably a number one where there's got to be bipartisanship. I mean, if we got any takeaway from this shutdown, is that 50% plus one is not the number in the Senate. It's 60. Unless the filibuster goes away, which it doesn't look like it's going to go away, you're going to need 60 votes to clear anything through the Senate. So makes no sense to have one-party exercises. We did what we did in the budget reconciliation, but that's what was allowed to be done. The regulations are crystal clear. And to get a fix on health care and to address the affordability of Obamacare, to address the affordability in the future of any enhanced premium tax credits, is going to need to be a bipartisan discussion. I think it showed some magnanimous behavior. The president put out that he's putting a proposal forward that I see a lot of my Republican colleagues balking at. But these guys are going to have to recognize the fact that we have to get something accomplished, and it's going to take Democrat votes to get it done. So we should work together, and we should have the conversation, and you're not going to get everything you want. If you get 70% of what you want, that's a big win. But we ultimately have to get a solution, because right now the only one that's getting ahead are the insurance companies and the big profits that they're bringing in for their shareholders. And I'm a capitalist,
but you know what?
I'm a capitalist, but not at
greed.
And greed has set in hardcore on healthcare. I mean, I deal with big healthcare companies in our area that want to kick and scream about any sort of levels of accountability coming to the Medicaid program on work requirements and things like that, and they're trying to make business decisions. I mean, for instance, the work requirements don't kick in until like 2 years from now. So not one dime has changed. They started closing clinics right away. Well, they made a business decision on what it meant to their books. It had nothing to do with the federal reimbursement, because the federal reimbursement hasn't changed. It's just because they want to be more profitable. And hospital executive salary is something that's absolutely off the rails. I mean, we have hospital executives making millions in our community.
Agreed.
And at the same time, they're crying the blues. It's all the financial health of the organization. So I do think we have to talk about where the cost centers are in some of this, because we need accountability and accounting in any decision that we make, in honesty, in just cold hard honesty. And I think that's what people are really yearning for a little more of. Let's talk about where a lot of the administrative costs on these organizations are, because it's off the rails when you see how larded up some of these organizations, some of these not-for-profits, they're in the same boat, where you got people saying that they're helping the poor, and you got people making six figures all the way across the board. I mean, let's really get and drill into some of this and start calling some of this out. I mean,
I'd like to see something about that. Thank you.
So I really appreciate you being with me tonight, Melanie. Hopefully it wasn't too tough to talk to me. We have, I think, a lot of things we might agree on. All right, we're going to talk to Sandra.
Hi.
Hi, Sandra. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm calling from Chautauqua County.
Okay. What part of Chautauqua County?
Well, we're going to discuss Dunkirk.
Dunkirk, New York. They've been in the news a little lately.
Mm-hmm. So my question is, I'm not too familiar, but I do have a question on Niagara Mohawk.
Okay.
And
which is now it's NYSEG or National Grid. National Grid. I'm sorry.
Right.
Niagara
The old plant there. Yeah,
you mean the power plant in Dunkirk? Yes, the shuttered
correct.
gas or the shuttered coal plant where they used to make electricity, and now it just stands there.
Exactly. So, what is there any way that you can just the nuclear is kind of scary because that's just that would take years anyway. So I'm just wondering, wouldn't it be easier for them to just turn it to natural gas?
Well, it's funny. You get a really bright mind because that's probably what they should have done with all of those plants. As soon as they shut them down, is turned them all into gas plants, and then we'd still be making electricity. 40% of the electricity we make in New York State is by burning natural gas, but they didn't do that. And that plant has been shuttered since 2016. And I know that because I spoke to the owner of that company, NRG, and I asked because some of our local officials, when the governor was talking about building a nuclear power plant, they got excited and wanted to talk about, possibly could that be a site. I don't know that I think it's a great idea to put a nuclear power plant on the shores of our Great Lakes.
I agree
But
completely.
although I think it's far more safe than the generations gone by, but we're probably 15 years out from any nuclear power plant being open in New York. But
Right.
I checked
So
with
couldn't they just
NRG.
turn that?
Well, so I'm getting to that. So I
Okay.
reached out to NRG and I asked, what if we could get the state to play along? Could you just make that a natural gas plant? And they told me that since it has been shuttered since 2016, time has gone by on all the permits that existed. So the permitting at the state and federal level, it would have to be treated as a brand new plant. So there's no grandfathering whatsoever, and that is a massive turnaround in time. Could it be done? Yes. Is it a long runway? It's probably 5, 6, 7 years from start to finish before you'd be able to start doing that again. And the state is just so anti-natural gas. There's no appetite right now. The governor wants to talk about nuclear. I got news for everybody on this call. Both she and I will both be retired from public life by the time a nuclear power plant is functional, a new one in New York State.
Right.
I mean, it's just it's so far down the road. So, the realistic nature of getting that repurposed is natural gas. They don't have the political will to do it right now. They're not they're very anti-natural gas. They don't want you to have a hookup for your house, let alone a new power plant. But that company has told me they would have to basically start from scratch, and that's a very long environmental process, especially to go through the New York State seeker process, which is the state management process. So it's frustrating, but there it stands as a monument to failure and bad decision making.
So forget about that.
And it's really hurt the Dunkirk and Chautauqua County economy. We've lost a ton of jobs. And
there's nothing that
just,
could be done to turn that around at all.
Well, I'm not saying that
Especially
if there was a new governor that they might have a different game plan. But
at least
under current management, that is not going to move forward. But thank you so much for being with me tonight, Sandra. And my staff tells me that we have gone into overtime at this point. I want to give you the results of our survey. And the question on the table was, do you support My Energy Choice Act? And that was 88% of people support the Energy Choice Act, and 8% said no, and 4% were unsure. So I appreciate the strong support there, and I'm going to keep working like hell to get this over the finish line, and I won't stop until it's on the president's desk. So I want to thank you all for taking time tonight to have a conversation about the issues before us and allow me to give you an update, but also talk about a variety of topics. And it's clear affordability is at the top of everybody's mind, and the things that affect that so much are our energy policies, and also our healthcare policies. We have a lot of big challenges to tackle for our country and for our region. I'm honored to work towards solutions that are going to help residents and families and businesses here in Western New York and the Southern Tier. So please know that my door is always open. We have offices in Clarence, in Jamestown, in Olean, and in Corning that are available to you. Go to langworthy.house.gov. No problem is too big and no problem is too small. If there's something that you need help with, please call. That's what we're here for. So if I wasn't able to get to your question tonight, I apologize. But please stay on the line. You can leave a voicemail and we will get back to you. Again, thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful, safe, and healthy Thanksgiving with you and your family. God bless you all. God bless America, and have a great rest of your night.